Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Chum here, and as you guys can see today, we have a brand new structure deck in the game, and that is Destiny Rulers. Now, this structure deck is something I've been looking forward to for a very long time. I heard about it a little while ago that we were going to get some more Destiny hero support, and I think it's absolutely amazing, the cards we have in this set. So without further ado, let's jump over to the shop and talk about all the different cards you can get in this brand new structure deck. Alright guys, so here we are at the new structure deck. You guys can see on the right hand side of the screen all the cards, and of course I will go through them all with you and explain exactly what they do. So the first one is the cover card of the structure deck, which is Destiny Hero Dogma, a level 8 dark monster with 3400 attack and 2400 defense, so pretty powerful on that end. Now its effect reads, cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned from your hand by attributing 3 monsters including at least 1 Destiny Hero monster, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. If you still control this face-up card during your opponent's next standby phase after it was special summoned this way, halve your opponent's life points. I think it's a pretty powerful effect. I personally actually run this card in real life. I do have a pure Destiny Hero deck which runs pretty much all these cards, barring very few of them. And it's a very powerful card. It's a very good boss monster. 3400 attack is nothing to laugh at, and of course being able to drop your opponent's life points by half is very, very powerful, especially when you're playing the TCG in which your opponent has a maximum or a starting life points of 8,000, so that can do 4,000 damage. Pretty ridiculous. I think it's going to be a really fun boss monster. Not sure if it's going to be better than Plasma, and sadly we didn't actually get Destiny and Dragoon, so you can't fuse the two of them, but we did get some fusions, so we'll talk about those in a little bit. Anyway, moving on, you guys can see we have Polymerization. That's pretty standard. And then our next new Destiny hero is Destiny Hero Celestial. It's a level 4 dark monster with 1600 attack and 1400 defense, and its effect reads, when this card declares an attack, you can target one face-up spell card your opponent controls, destroy it, and if you do, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. So right there, very, very powerful stuff. When it attacks, you can destroy spell cards. So things like Toon Kingdom, of course if it's unprotected, or things like various continuous spell cards which may be lowering your attack or preventing your opponent's monster from being destroyed, Destiny Hero Celestial has got your back. And of course equip spells, he doesn't care, he'll destroy them. Anyway, moving on to its next effect, which I think is even better. While you have no cards in your hand except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card and one Destiny Hero monster from your graveyard and draw 2 cards. You can only use the effect of Celestial once per turn, so a very, very powerful effect. When you're down on resources, or you're able to set your entire hand, you can then draw 2 more cards by banishing 2 of your Destiny Heroes, which I think is a very, very powerful effect, especially since if you run a deck build where your Destiny Heroes don't have graveyard effects, or they have limited charges in their effects but don't banish themselves, he can kind of get them out of there for free and let you get more cards. So very, very cool stuff. One of my personal favorite Destiny Hero cards. Moving on to another one of my favorite Destiny Hero cards, we have Destiny Hero Drill Dark, level 4 dark monster with 1600 attack and 1200 defense. If this card is normal summoned or special summoned, you can special summon one Destiny Hero monster from your hand with attack less than or equal to this card's attack on the field. So, of course, that's going to also let you summon a Destiny Hero Celestial in turn with the Destiny Hero Drill Dark. So very, very cool stuff. Pretty nice combo right there. You can only use this effect of Destiny Hero Drill Dark once per turn, however, so that means you can't actually summon one Drill Dark, special summon another Drill Dark, and get a third monster. It doesn't work like that, sadly. However, if this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing damage to your opponent. So very cool there. This guy, of course, he's covered in drills. He's able to pierce through that defenses and do some damage to your opponent. So very cool card, very fun card. And it's going to be really, really powerful if you use Dark City, because of course, when attacking the monster with higher attack, he'll get 2600 attack, which is some pretty devastating piercing attack. Anyway, moving on to our next card, we have another one of my personal favorites. We have Vision Hero Vion, level 4 dark with 1000 attack and 1200 defense. If this card is normal summoned or special summoned, you can send one hero monster from your deck to the graveyard. Very, very, very powerful effect. A lot of Destiny Hero monsters have effects that trigger from the graveyard by either banishing themselves or having a certain condition filled while they're in the graveyard, and this guy can put that fuel in there for you. So very, very cool stuff. He's going to combo really, really well with Destiny Hero Malicious as well as Destiny Hero Dash, who both have very, very powerful graveyard effects. So definitely worthwhile if you're wanting those cards in your deck. Then, moving on, of course, you can only use the effect of Vision Hero Vion once per turn. Then, after that, once per turn, you can banish one hero monster from your graveyard and add one Polymerization from your deck to your hand. So, of course, this guy is a Polymerization Searcher, which is absolutely incredible. And usually, certain Destiny heroes will have their effects triggered but not banish themselves. And you can actually get those monsters out of your graveyard once you use their effects and then get Polymerization to hand. So, very, very cool. One specific example of this is, of course, Destiny Hero Dasher, who doesn't banish himself but only has one use of his effect. So, very, very cool. I think Vision Hero Vion is going to be very, very powerful if you're running cards like Dasher and Malicious in your deck. Now moving on to the next card, we have Destiny Hero Dreamer. During damage calculation, if your Destiny Hero monster battles and this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. Make that monster unable to be destroyed by battle, and if you do, you take no battle damage from that battle. If summoned this way, banish this card when it leaves the field. You can only use this effective Destiny Hero Dreamer once per turn. So he's in a way kind of like a Bacon Saver, almost negating attack but also giving you a monster. So pretty powerful card in my opinion. With all these 3 tribute special summons you have in Destiny Heroes, adding that free monster is very, very important. Anyway, moving on to our next card, we have D Cubed, a very powerful card when it comes to summoning your boss monsters. If this card is normal summoned, it is also treated as a Destiny Hero monster while face up on the field. You can only use each of the following effects of D Cubed once per turn. You can discard 2 cards, special summon D Cubed from your hand, deck, and or graveyard equal to the number discarded. Also, for the rest of the turn, you cannot normal or special summon other monsters except Destiny Hero monsters. So of course, when this guy is normal summoned, he's treated as a Destiny Hero monster, and then you're able to discard 2 cards in order to get 2 more of these on the field, which means you're able to tribute for either Dogma or Plasma with this 1 card, and of course discarding 2. So very, very powerful, especially when you consider the fact that discarding 2 of your monsters can let you trigger some graveyard effects. I think D Cubed is great. I personally run 3 in my own deck that I have in the TCG, and it's a very, very fun card to use. Anyway, moving on to the second effect. If this card is a draw by battle or card effect, you can send 1 Destiny Hero monster from your deck to the graveyard. So of course, very, very powerful stuff here. You can put more Destiny Heroes in the graveyard and feel some more effects. Very cool. In my opinion, one of the better Destiny Hero support cards. Then moving on, we have Destiny Hero Dark Angel, a very confusing one. But hear me out. Let me read through this effect. It is very confusing. Even I barely understand it. But let's do it. If you have 3 or more Destiny Hero monsters in your graveyard, you can discard this card, then target 1 Destiny Hero monster in your graveyard and special summon it to your opponent's side of the field. So very confusing. When a spell, card, or effect you activate resolves, negate that effect, and if you do, or if it did not have an effect, destroy that card. During your standby phase, you can banish this card and 1 Destiny Hero monster from your graveyard. Each player chooses 1 normal spell card in their deck and places it on top of their deck. So very, very, very confusing card. However, Destiny Hero Dark Angel does some good stuff for you, because if you're able to activate that final effect and put a normal spell card on top of your deck, you can actually use Destiny Hero Diamond Dude's effect to then trigger that spell card during your next standby phase, of course using its effect to send it to the graveyard and get that effect. So very interesting stuff, but its effects are a little bit all over the place, so I'm not too sure exactly how this works. I'm probably gonna have to look it up on the Yu-Gi-Oh wiki to actually fully understand it. Anyway, moving on, we do have some fusion monsters now, the first of which is Vision Hero Trinity. It requires 3 hero monsters, and during the turn this card is fusion summoned, its attack is double its original attack, which is pretty insane. It gets 5,000 attack. This fusion summoned card can attack 3 times during each battle phase. This card cannot attack your opponent directly. So this guy's actually going to make for another substitute in terms of running the Elemental Hero Terra Firma deck. So I run this last gamble version of Terra Firma, which basically you summon him and you basically keep binning your monsters to get his attack super high and attack into your opponents, whereas Vision Hero Trinity makes a good use in that deck as well, because you can get into 5,000 attack very, very easily. And of course, if you can't summon for your Terra Firma, you can actually use him instead. But overall, very, very powerful card. If your opponent has a bunch of monsters in the field that are below 5,000 attack, which is pretty common, and they have no back row, he can end the game for you very, very quickly by destroying all of them and dealing some damage. Then moving on to the next fusion card, we have Destiny Hero Dangerous. He's a level 6 Dark monster, and he requires 1 Destiny Hero monster and 1 Dark Effect monster, which is pretty simple because all Destiny Hero monsters are Dark Effect monsters as well. Now, he has a quick effect, and that is you can discard 1 card and send 1 Destiny Hero monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard. And if you do, Destiny Hero monsters you control gain 200 attack for each Destiny Hero monster in your graveyard until the end of this turn. You can only use this effect to Destiny Hero Dangerous once per turn. So very, very powerful stuff. You can get your monsters to gain attack, and you can use it to discard cards from your hand that you don't need, as well as move Destiny Heroes from your deck to the graveyard that you might want to have there in order to fuel their effects. So very, very cool stuff, very, very good card. I personally use this in my TCG deck, and it is a very clutch card for getting those cards you need in the graveyard and triggering off those very powerful graveyard effects. Anyway guys, moving on to the next card, we have the spell card Cyclone Blade. Equipped only to a Destiny Hero monster at the end of the damage step. If the equipped monster attacks, target 1 spell trap on the field and destroy that target. So very, very cool stuff. I'm not sure if I'll use it in my own deck, but it can be very powerful because if you do get to that damage step, you're able to destroy a card, and that makes it more than a 1-for-1. So it could see play, but I'm not too sure just yet. Anyway, moving on to our next card, we have Diffusion. Fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters you control as fusion material, and if you do, it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects this turn. only Destiny Hero monsters can be used as fusion material for a fusion summon using this card's effect. So it's a very, very cool effect. It lets you fusion summon on your opponent's turn, and of course the fusion summoned monster cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects during that turn. So it's very good to have that kind of protection. However, it's worth noting that you must have the monsters you use as fusion materials on your field, and of course it being a trap card means you can't actually play it in one turn. You have to set it first, which can be quite slow. Anyway, moving on to our next card, we have Dark Light. Tribute 1 Dark Monster with 1500 or more attack, destroy all monsters that were special summoned this turn. So it's a pretty cool card. I can see this getting play later in the game when we get more synchros and Xyz and stuff like that, because they must be special summoned. And in fact, most cards these days are special summoned, but it more often than not is going to end up being a 2-for-1, so it's not all that amazing. Now moving on to our final card, we have Defortune. When your opponent declares a direct attack, banish 1 Destiny Hero monster from your graveyard and end the battle phase. So it's a pretty cool card if you're going to run a deck that's all about fusion summoning, because that could mean you might end up with cards in the graveyard that you don't need, and you might end up with an empty field at certain times because of course you're limited resources. I don't know if this card will see play. I personally don't use it in my Destiny Hero deck that I have for the TCG, but it is a very powerful card seeing as it can just straight up end the battle phase, which will end your opponent's turn as well. So pretty incredible stuff. Anyway guys, that's it for the deck. As you can see, we get some pretty powerful cards here. In fact, I'm super happy about getting Dogma, Celestial, and Drill Dark, as well as Vion. Very amazing cards. I can't wait to run the deck. It's going to be so much fun. I'm going to be playtesting this deck for a little while and trying to get to Platinum with it as I've ranked it down to Gold. And once I get there, and maybe even if I make it to Legend, I'll try and share with you guys my deck build for Destiny Heroes, because I think this deck is now going to be a lot of fun. As much as it sucks we don't have Destiny and Dragoon, having Dogma and having these other Destiny Hero support cards is absolutely amazing. Anyway guys, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. And of course, if you guys want to see more videos like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because there'll be plenty more videos like this where I talk about the latest things that have come to Duel Links as they come out. So keep your eyes up for it. Anyway guys, I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.